Humans have not gone to war in centuries. Our ancient warriors sleep in their graves, their weapons rusted, their glory faded, but we may need those warriors again. In the distant future, humanity has expanded across the galaxy, making contact with advanced alien races like the Suliban, known for their diplomacy and aversion to violence. Decorated human soldier Alan Evans is chosen as Earth's ambassador to the Suliban homeworld. Upon arrival, his Suliban counterpart Sirius greets him. "Your species has made rapid technological advancements," Sirius says, "but your reputation for aggression precedes you." Alan settles into his role and learns the Suliban have achieved a peaceful, utopian society through advanced technology and a deep philosophical commitment to non-violence. But he soon discovers this peace has cost them their drive to explore, innovate, and take risks. Then human colonists on a nearby planet are brutally attacked by an unknown alien force. The colonists desperately call for military aid from Earth, but the Suliban urge Alan to find a diplomatic solution. Torn between protecting his fellow humans and maintaining good relations, Alan investigates the attack. Delving into the mystery, Alan uncovers a secret Suliban faction that believes humanity's dormant warrior spirit is the key to their civilization's next evolutionary leap. Led by the enigmatic Shadow, this faction has been manipulating events behind the scenes to provoke a war between humans and the unknown alien attackers. Now, with time running out and the fate of both races in jeopardy, Alan must navigate a treacherous web of politics, betrayal, and ancient secrets to prevent an apocalyptic interstellar war that could annihilate them all. And he begins to question everything he believes about the nature of conflict and whether humanity's warrior past is a strength or a fatal weakness that could doom them all. Alan dove into the investigation of the brutal attack on the human colonists, combing through reams of data and interviewing dozens of witnesses. The more he uncovered, the more unsettling the picture became. The unknown alien force behind the slaughter was no mere pirate band or rogue state. They were highly organized, ruthlessly efficient, and disturbingly familiar with human tactics and technology. The trail of clues led Alan to a shocking revelation. The attackers were actually a rogue faction of the Suliban themselves, led by a shadowy figure known only as the Shadow. This faction, Alan learned, believed that the Suliban's centuries-long embrace of pacifism had made them weak and vulnerable. They saw humanity's warrior spirit as the key to unlocking the next stage in Suliban evolution, a new galactic order founded on strength and conquest rather than diplomacy and cooperation. Shaken by this discovery, Alan confronted Sirius in his private quarters. He laid out the evidence of the Shadow's existence and the rogue faction's involvement in the attack. But Sirius simply shook his head, his face a mask of confusion and concern. "Alan, I have no knowledge of this Shadow or any rogue elements within our society," Sirius said. "I assure you, we are fully committed to peace." But Alan's instincts told him Sirius was holding something back. He dug deeper, sifting through Sirius's communications logs and personal files. And there it was, encrypted messages between Sirius and an unknown party, filled with cryptic references to the plan and the awakening. Alan felt a chill run down his spine. Sirius was in on it. He was working with the Shadow to plunge the galaxy into war, using the human colonists as the spark to ignite the flames. Determined to uncover the full truth, Alan made a desperate gamble. He reached out to Zoran, one of the Shadow's top lieutenants, posing as a disgruntled human soldier sympathetic to their cause. It was a dangerous game, but Alan knew he had to play it if he wanted to stop the Shadow's plan. Zoran was initially suspicious, but Alan's knowledge of Suliban culture and history, combined with his own growing doubts about the wisdom of the Shadow's path, eventually won him over. In a clandestine meeting aboard a derelict freighter, Zoran revealed the true scope of the Shadow's ambitions. "The Shadow believes we Suliban have lost our way," Zoran said, his voice tight with tension. "He seeks to use an ancient weapon of unimaginable power to destroy the human colony and frame your people for the deed. The ensuing war will shatter the Suliban's pacifist illusions and pave the way for a new order, one where the strong rule and the weak perish. Alan's blood ran cold. He had to stop this at any expense, but he couldn't do it alone. He reached out to a small group of Suliban who shared his commitment to peace and diplomacy, knowing they were risking everything by defying the Shadow. Together, they hatched a daring plan to infiltrate the Shadow's stronghold and destroy the ancient weapon before it could be unleashed. But as they raced to put the plan into action, Alan uncovered one final, chilling truth. The weapon was no mere piece of lost technology. It was a remnant of a long-dead civilization that once ruled the stars, imbued with the power to reshape the very fabric of reality. And the Shadow believed that by harnessing that power, he could not only defeat the humans, but overthrow the Suliban government itself and install himself as the supreme ruler of a new galactic imperium. The stakes had never been higher. As Alan and his team launched their desperate assault on the Shadow's stronghold, they knew they were fighting not just for their own lives, but for the fate of the entire galaxy. Laser bolts crisscrossed the cavernous chamber as they battled the Shadow's fanatical followers, the acrid tang of smoke and blood filling the air. In the end, Alan confronted the Shadow himself atop a high platform, the ancient weapon pulsing with malevolent energy between them. They fought in a deadly dance, neither giving quarter. Alan's combat skills pushed to the limit by the Shadow's preternatural speed and strength. But with a final, desperate blow, Alan sent the Shadow tumbling into the weapon's crackling energy field, destroying both in a blinding flash of light. The stronghold collapsed around them as Alan and his few remaining allies fled, battered and bloody, but victorious. In the aftermath, the Suliban government reeled from the revelation of the Shadow's treachery and the rogue faction's betrayal. They were forced to confront the uncomfortable truth that their society was not as idyllic as they had believed, and that the peace they cherished was a fragile thing, easily shattered by those who sought power and dominion. As for Alan, he lay in a Suliban medical bay, his body racked with pain from his wounds, his mind troubled by the weight of all he had seen and done. He had saved the galaxy from war, but at what cost? And what was his role now, as a human soldier, an ambassador in a universe where the old certainties had been swept away? He closed his eyes, knowing that those were questions he would have to grapple with for a long time to come. Alan Evans stood before the Suliban High Council, his body still aching from his injuries. The council chamber buzzed with tension as he laid out the evidence of the secret weapons program. "We've uncovered proof of advanced weapon development within your scientific community," Alan said, his voice firm. "This goes against everything the Suliban claim to stand for." The council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. First Speaker Narell leaned forward, his face etched with concern. "Ambassador Evans, we assure you this program is purely defensive. After the Shadow incident, we realized our vulnerability." Alan's eyes narrowed. "Defensive or not, it's a significant escalation. Earth views this as a potential threat." The room erupted into heated discussion. Alan watched as the Suliban argued among themselves, their carefully cultivated image of serenity crumbling before his eyes. Later, in a private meeting room, Alan confronted Sirius. His former friend sat slumped in a chair, defeated. "Why, Sirius?" Alan demanded. "I trusted you." Sirius looked up, his eyes hollow. "Our society was stagnating, Alan. The Shadow offered a path forward, a way to reclaim our strength." Alan shook his head, disgust and disappointment warring within him. "And now look where we are, on the brink of war." He left Sirius and made his way to the communications center. The faces of Earth's leadership appeared on the screen, their expressions grim. "The situation is volatile," Alan reported, "but I believe there's still a chance for peace." Admiral Chen's voice crackled through the speakers. "We need you to take action, Evans. Neutralize the Suliban threat by any means necessary." Alan's lips pursed. "With all due respect, Admiral, that's not the answer. Give me one more chance at diplomacy." After hours of tense negotiation, Alan stood once again before the Suliban High Council. The chamber was silent as he spoke. "We stand at a crossroads," he began. "We can continue down this path of mistrust and escalation, or we can forge a new way forward together. Alan laid out his proposal for a joint human-Suliban military force. As he spoke, he saw hope begin to flicker in the eyes of the council members. First speaker. Narrell nodded slowly. Your proposal is bold, Ambassador Evans, but perhaps boldness is what we need in these uncertain times. As discussions began in earnest, Alan allowed himself a small measure of hope. The road ahead would be difficult, but for the first time since uncovering the Shadows plot, he felt they might have a chance at lasting peace. The Suliban High Council chamber buzzed with tension as Alan Evans stood before them, his proposal hanging in the air. Days of heated debate followed, with councillors arguing late into the night. In the end, pragmatism won out over tradition. We accept your proposal, Ambassador Evans, First Speaker Narell announced, his voice heavy with the weight of the decision. The interstellar peacekeepers will be formed. The next few years were a whirlwind of activity. Recruitment centers opened across human and Suliban space. Alan watched as eager volunteers from both species lined up, ready to forge a new future together. On the training grounds of New Eden, a purpose-built facility on a neutral world, human and Suliban recruits sweated side by side. They learned to wield each other's weapons, mastered alien combat techniques, and slowly built trust. Keep your stance wider, a human drill sergeant barked at a Suliban trainee. And you, Phillips, your energy shield modulation is off. Work together to get it right. Alan observed from a viewing platform, Sirius at his side. The tension between them was palpable, but they pushed it aside for the greater good. They're improving, Sirius noted, his voice carefully neutral. Alan nodded. Slowly but surely, we'll get there. Not everyone shared their optimism. Protests erupted on both human and Suliban worlds. On Earth, Alan faced angry crowds decrying the alien infiltration of humanity's military. On the Suliban homeworld, pacifist groups staged sit-ins, horrified at the militarization of their society. Through it all, Alan and Sirius pressed on. Gradually, the peacekeepers took shape. Their first real test came sooner than anyone expected. The distress call from the Krell-Vorash border flashed across Alan's desk. Fleet movements, escalating rhetoric, the threat of all-out war. The newly minted peacekeepers mobilized, racing to the conflict zone. Alan stood on the bridge of the flagship, the diverse crew of humans and Suliban working in perfect unison around him. As they dropped out of FTL, the sight that greeted them was chilling. Two massive fleets faced each other across the void, weapons primed. Open a channel to both fleets, Alan ordered, and deploy our ships to form a buffer zone. For agonizing hours, Alan and Sirius shuttled between the Krell and Vorash command ships. They cajoled, negotiated, and occasionally threatened, all while peacekeeper ships maintained a tenuous line between the hostile forces. Finally, after months of tense talks, Alan watched as the leaders of the Krell and Vorash signed the historic peace accord. The room erupted in applause, but Alan's relief was short-lived. Reports began trickling in, peacekeeper outposts sabotaged, misinformation campaigns turning allies against each other, a human lieutenant found dead in suspicious circumstances. Late one night, Alan and Sirius pored over intelligence reports in Alan's office. The pieces of the puzzle were coming together, forming a disturbing picture. The Syndicate, Sirius said, his face grim. They're behind all of this. Alan nodded, feeling the weight of a new threat settling on his shoulders. We've got a fight on our hands, old friend, one that could undo everything we've built. They shared a look of dedication. Whatever their past differences, they knew they'd have to stand together to face this new enemy. The real test of the peacekeepers was just beginning. The Peacekeeper Command Center erupted into chaos as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Alan's eyes darted between holographic displays, each one showing a new crisis unfolding. Sir, we've lost contact with our outpost in the Helios system, a young human officer reported, her voice tight with stress. A Suliban analyst chimed in, confirmed uprising on Tara Prime. Local government requesting immediate assistance. Alan's teeth clenched as he absorbed the information. The syndicate's tendrils reached further than he'd ever imagined. He turned to Sirius, who stood at his side, face grim. "We can't keep playing whack-a-mole," Alan said. "We need to cut off the head of the snake." Sirius nodded. "Agreed, but how do we find their headquarters?" Alan's mind raced. "We'll need to activate every asset we have. Informants, deep cover operatives, the works." For weeks, they worked tirelessly, piecing together fragments of intelligence. Finally, a breakthrough came from an unlikely source, a low-level syndicate courier captured during a raid on a supply depot. Alan leaned close to the courier, who sat shackled in the interrogation room. "Tell me where your leaders are hiding." The courier's eyes darted nervously. "They'll kill me if I talk." "We can protect you," Alan assured him, "but only if you help us stop this madness." Hours later, Alan and Sirius stood before a holographic map of uncharted space. A pulsing red dot indicated their target, a massive space station hidden in a dense asteroid field. "It's a fortress," Sirius observed, studying the station's defenses. Alan's eyes narrowed. "Then we'll need our best. Assemble a strike team, half human, half Suliban. We hit them hard and fast." The assault shuttle bucked as it dodged incoming fire. Alan gripped his harness, adrenaline surging through his veins. Around him, human and Suliban soldiers checked their weapons one last time. 30 seconds to insertion," the pilot called out. Alan looked at each face in turn. "Remember your training. Watch each other's backs. Today, we end this threat once and for all." The shuttle's hull screeched as it made contact with the station. Cutting torches flared to life, carving an entrance. The instant the breach was made, Alan was on his feet. "Go, go, go!" They poured into the station, met immediately by a hail of enemy fire. Alan ducked behind a bulkhead, returning fire with his plasma rifle. A Suliban soldier fell beside him, chest smoking from a direct hit. "Push forward!" Alan shouted over the din of battle. "We can't let them regroup!" They fought their way deeper into the station, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Alan lost track of time, his world narrowing to the next target, the next corridor. Suddenly he found himself in a vast chamber. A figure stood on a raised platform radiating an aura of menace, the syndicate leader. "Sirius, cover me!" Alan called out, sprinting towards the platform. The leader turned, revealing a face twisted with hate. Without warning, he launched himself at Alan, moving with inhuman speed. Alan barely managed to raise his arms to block the first blow. The impact sent shock waves of pain through his body. He struck back, but his opponent was impossibly fast, dodging each attack with ease. A savage kick sent Alan sprawling. He tasted blood in his mouth as he struggled to his feet. The leader loomed over him, sneering. "You're weak," the leader spat. "All of you. Humans were meant to conquer, not make peace with aliens." Alan's eyes widened as he processed the leader's words. "You're human?" "I'm what humanity should be," the leader snarled. "Not this watered-down version you've become." Alan saw an opening and lunged, tackling the leader to the ground. They grappled furiously, rolling across the platform. A shot rang out. Alan felt the leader's body jerk. Looking up, he saw Sirius lowering his weapon, a pained expression on his face. "Alan," Sirius gasped, revealing a gaping wound in his side. "It was meant for you. I couldn't let him." Alan scrambled to his friend's side, catching him as he fell. "No, no, no, stay with me, Sirius." Sirius gripped Alan's arm weakly. "Listen, I was wrong before. What we've built, it's the only way. Promise me you'll keep fighting for it." Alan felt tears stinging his eyes. "I promise. We'll do it together." But Sirius's eyes had already gone dim. Alan cradled his friend's body, a storm of grief and rage building inside him. The leader's laughter cut through his anguish. Alan turned, seeing the wounded man struggling to stand. "You see?" the leader wheezed. "This is what your precious alliance brings. Death, weakness." Alan stood, his voice cold. "No, this is what your hatred brings." In one fluid motion, Alan drew his sidearm and fired. The leader's body crumpled to the ground. The battle was over, but the cost had been immense. As Alan walked through the memorial garden, his eyes traced the names etched in stone. So many lost, so much sacrifice. He stopped before the newest addition, a statue of Sirius, standing tall and proud. Alan placed a hand on the cool stone. "I'll keep my promise, old friend," he whispered, "whatever it takes."
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.